our kind of politics is dangerous.
Nothing is easy.
Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu has survived being shot 16 times.
They had automatic rifles and they opened fire. The noise.
I actually call it an assassination attempt.
When I saw the clips of him being arrested, I just felt like this is a different level altogether.
His push for reforms has angered political opponents.
Politics is supposed to be war that is non-violent. In Tanzania, politics is increasingly becoming war.
Being a human rights defender is very risky. And sometimes we call it your own death warrant.
He said, I won't stop voicing my opinion over what I believe is right.
I don't want to die. I love life. But there are moments in life when you're prepared to pay the ultimate price.
Kuenguliwa tangu tumeanza. Tumechoka chaguzi ambazo wizi wa kura sasa ni jambo la kawaida.
It's 6 months before Tanzania's 2025 presidential election. Tundu Lissu, head of opposition party Chadema, is holding a rally.
Ni muhimu kuzungumza mfumo wa uchaguzi, kwa sababu mfumo wa uchaguzi ndio unaamua tunapata viongozi wa aina gani. Ndio maana tunasema no reform, no election.
Moments later, he is surrounded by police.
When I saw him being arrested and eventually being charged for treason, my heart sank. It was very difficult.
Supporters say that the party wanted electoral reforms before the election. His opponents said that he was trying to force a boycott.
How can you call it criminal justice? They are to intimidate and crush him to dust. Tundu Lissu is not just arrested once, hundreds of times. And not because he's a criminal, but standing on things those matter and things those people who have power don't want to hear.
This militant opposition to the government of Tanzania comes from my own personal experiences as a child and also as an adult, growing up and living in Tanzania.
In order to make the optimum use of the country's meager resources, it became necessary to devise ways and means to abandon the old method of living in scattered homesteads.
In Tanzania, from the late 1960s, President Nyerere, in a socialist experiment, moved over 5 million people from their homes to new Ujamaa villages. It was hoped people would be more productive on larger-scale communal farms, but many people were forced to move and received no compensation.
I was a victim of that as a 6-year-old child, basically. I saw with my own eyes our village being demolished and we being left homeless without any reason, nothing.
His father despised any form of mistreatment or injustice to other people. He would do anything to stand on the side of the victims.
Growing up, I continued to witness the low-level violence that the state in Tanzania was meting out to particularly rural dwellers in Tanzania. And these national parks and nature conservation areas were created by blood and toil and tears of possibly millions of Tanzanians who were uprooted from their lands.
I met Tundu for the first time at a military camp. At that time, military service was compulsory. End of 1997, we got married.
Both Alicia and Tundu graduated from law school.
At that time, the mining sector had opened up, foreign direct investment. So there were a lot of issues, relating to natural resources especially. People lost their lands. There were questions relating to compensation, and he was right in the middle of it.
Mheshimiwa Spika, viongozi wote walioko hapa upande huu, viongozi wote wa vyama vya siasa, hakuna mtu asiyekuwa na majeraha ya jeshi la polisi.
Tundu Lissu's fight for social justice will take him to parliament as an MP for opposition party Chadema.
Between 2010 and 2015, the opposition was crowded out, not necessarily through repressive means, but by virtue of being overwhelmed by the structures of the ruling party.
Kwamba nimeomba nafasi hizi kwa majaribio, bali nataka nifanye kazi ya nguvu sana.
In 2015, John Magufuli became president and the leader of CCM, the party that had been in power since independence in 1964.
Leo hii nani ambaye anaweza kubisha kwamba Rais Magufuli na utawala wake hauingilii uhuru wa mahakama?
Tundu Lissu was the only person who spoke strongly against Magufuli.
Wasimpe hela za kuua demokrasia.
Serikali kuingia katika njia ya ukandamizaji.
But as well as support, Tundu Lissu's battling style also created enemies. Some consider it counterproductive.
Tundu Lissu himself needed to read the signs of the time because tactics and strategy change. And there is a time basically to pull back and a time to aggressively move forward. So he allowed himself to be seen as being on a one-on-one, collision with Magufuli.
Come January 2016, oh my God, things changed.
Mashtaka haya ya hiki kinachoitwa uchochezi ni ushahidi mwingine tena kwamba nchi yetu sasa imeingia katika giza nene la utawala wa kidikteta.
Tundu was very often arrested. Sedition, classical sedition. It was always sedition.
Hii haitakuwa mara yangu ya kwanza kukamatwa. Kwa mwaka huu peke yake nafikiri itakuwa mara yangu ya 4.
I recall not being able to work because you go through the motion of being him arrested, to being put in remand, to being, charged. It was a very difficult year, I must say.
Si kosa la uchochezi kukosoa serikali, kupinga serikali.
2017, Tundu had started complaining that he was being followed. He also went public about it. I became scared. I became worried for his life and for what would happen to us, the children and I. And then
Tundu Lissu kupigwa risasi akiwa anaelekea nyumbani kwake mara baada ya kutoka bungeni katika kikao cha 3 cha bunge.
Tundu Lissu has been shot. I just screamed. I just kept on asking my friend, is he alive?
Wananchi yote ambaye anatakuwa na taarifa asaidie jeshi la polisi.
My children were attending boarding school in Morogoro. Would you want to communicate this information to them? I said I'm not able to. And to me, That was the hardest thing. We dashed to the hospital. That's the first time I believed that Tundu was actually alive.
Tundu Lissu and Alicia were flown out of Tanzania to another hospital in Nairobi, Kenya.
I kept on saying, how long is it gonna take? It was too long, the flight.
In Nairobi, he was to receive more life-saving treatment and was finally out of danger.
Tanzania's opposition leader, Tundu Lissu, was speaking from the Nairobi hospital where he's been recovering after being shot by unknown people 4 months ago.
How has this attack changed your perspective about life and politics?
I actually call it an assassination attempt. Politics, particularly our kind of politics, is dangerous.
After 4 months in Kenya, Tundu and Alicia flew to Belgium for further treatment, leaving their children in East Africa. In 2019, Africa Eye filmed with Tundu Lissu during his physiotherapy.
Wow. Nothing is easy. I got 7 bullets for my tummy, see? Oh. My children, they were very brave. I just cannot imagine what must have gone through their minds during those difficult times, you know. They took a piece of muscle here and they put it here because all this was just blown away. And then they took skin and grafted it there. There's a big scar, you see? This is what smashed the hip bone.
2 years after the attack, Tundu Lissu was still coming to terms with the shooting.
This was hit, came from here. I had become their public enemy #1. There was lunchtime on September 7. Parliament was in session. My driver picked me up from the Parliament gate and we started driving home. And then my driver told me, we are being tailed. There are 2 cars following us. I live in a government housing compound where ministers, the deputy speaker and other government people live. There is normally security presence at the gate 24/7. And I say this because I've been living there since 2010. But on this particular day, the gate was wide open and there was no security at the gate. So we went through and the Nissan also came just behind me. And then within a fraction of a second, he and another fellow came out and they had automatic rifles and they opened fire. It is impossible to describe the moment, the feeling, the sound of gunfire.
Tundu Lissu, welcome to Hard Talk. You seem to believe that there was a definite political intent to that attack upon you.
Yes, absolutely.
So what's your proof?
Well, the proof is in the circumstances leading up to the attack.
There were probably, I dare say, a lot of people, but some of them bad people, who might have had an animus against you. You can't be sure who might have tried to kill you.
Those with whom we have proof that they had bad animus against me are the government. For a year preceding the attack on me on September 7 of 2017, I was arrested 8 times. I was charged in court with this or that offense of sedition. These are free speech offenses 6 times. There were open calls by people who we know to be members of the ruling party who called openly for my assassination.
The president did say after the attack that he utterly condemned it and he called immediately on law enforcement to catch and punish the
president.
Did the president talk to you after the attack?
He has never, ever spoken in public about this attempted assassination. Never. There was a tweet. A very small, very quick tweet, and it disappeared.
Before the assassination attempt, you called the president a petty dictator. At one point, you called on the international community to treat Tanzania, and I'm quoting you directly, as the skunk of the world.
Yes.
Yeah, now that you've had time to reflect, do you think you went too far? You went over the top.
Governments that kill their citizens, governments that use their security forces to target their political opponents, governments that prohibit political rights which are protected by the Constitution, governments that cause civilians to be abducted and disappear, those governments deserve to be described as the skunks of the world.